Hi guys, today we're going to do SpringBoard Course 3, Lesson 36-1, the cost of borrowing. Our learning targets. We're going to analyze the factors that affect the cost of a loan. We're going to calculate and compare the cost of different types of loans. And we're going to explain the advantages and disadvantages of different methods of repayment. An important part of personal financial literacy is learning how to use credit wisely. Overuse of credit is not good. But at some point, most people need to make large purchases, such as a house or car. That usually involves borrowing money by taking out a loan. Other reasons to borrow include money for college or to start a business. Whether you are borrowing a small amount or a large one, there are costs to using credit. Two popular types of credit are installment credit, which requires set payments, and revolving credit, in which payments may vary each month. Personal loans and mortgages are examples of installment credit, while credit card balances are examples of revolving credit. The cost of using credit depends on how much is borrowed, the interest rate, and the length of the loan. The principal is the amount borrowed. Interest rates are fixed or variable. A fixed rate stays the same for the term of a loan. A variable rate changes as other interest rates in the economy change. It can go up or down. Variable rates are often used for home mortgage. The term is the length of time for which you borrow the money. Most personal loans have a term of 1 to 5 years. Mortgage loans for buying a house or condominium are commonly made for 15, 20, or 30 years. So the term is the amount of time. There are several ways to calculate total interest. One is simple interest. Simple interest, for which the formula is I is equal to P times R times T, or IPRT. Example A, you want to borrow $800 to take a vacation. You plan to pay the loan back in 6 months. The interest rate is 4.5% per year. What is your total cost? So remember, this is just simple interest. So remember, it's our interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the term. Okay. And again, it's asking you what is the total cost. The cost, of course, is the interest. That's the added cost. But of course, you also have to pay back the loan. And so we go ahead and we plug in what we know. We plug in what we know. Now, this I right here is the amount of interest. This right here, I mistakenly put interest. This should have been the rate. The rate. Okay. All right, so we're going to look at the amount of interest, and that's equal to the principal, it's the $800 we started off with, times the rate, which is this right here, the 0.045, and then, of course, we're going to multiply that times the time. And it indicates on here we're going to pay the loan back in 6 months. 6 months. Okay, now, this right here, if you notice, it said the interest rate is the amount per year, and typically it is an annual interest rate. So we have to think about 6 months. What part of a year is that? In that case, it's half a year, so it's going to be 0.5. And then, of course, we just go ahead and do the math, and this is going to equal 18. And that is the interest. That's the amount of the interest. Now, the total cost of the vacation is going to be the principal plus the interest is equal to your total. And so that's going to be the 800 plus the 18, which is 818. Something like that. Okay, so the total cost is $818. Try these A. As is calculate the interest on $1,200 at 3.9% for a year. Okay, so in this case, we'll use the formula. And remember, the rule of the classroom is you always have to write down the formula before you use it. So don't forget to do that. All right, so it's going to be the interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the term. Okay, so in this case, we're looking for the interest on here. And so the interest is going to be the principal, which is $1,200, times the 3.9% written as a decimal, 0.039, 0.039. And then, of course, the term is 1 year. So the neat thing about that is it really doesn't do anything to the problem. And so we can go ahead and figure this out. You can use your calculator on here. So it's going to be 1,200 times 0.039. And I'll go ahead and do that on mine. So it's 1,200 times 0.039. And that's going to be $46.80. So it's $46.80 is the interest. It's just asking me to calculate the interest. So the answer, of course, is $46.80. All right, so let's go ahead and do the next one. It says, what is the principal if you have an interest of $75 and a rate of $5? Again, this assumes a 1 year thing. So what we have to do is we have to go ahead and write down the formula. I is equal to PRT. And as with any other formula, we can solve for anything here, the interest, the principal, the rate, or the term, if we have the rest of it. So here it's saying we have our interest is 75. That equals the principal, which we don't know, so we'll just leave the P. And then, of course, we have our rate of 5%, again, written as a decimal, 0.05. All right, and then the term, we're going to assume it's 1 year. So if we put a 1 here, we can do that, but it really doesn't do anything. All right, so now in order to solve for P, we have to get P by itself. So we have to divide both sides by 0.05. See, and it says, what is the interest on $2,400 at 5.5% for 8 months? So again, we'll just write the formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. And so we just go ahead and fill in. We're solving for the interest, so that's going to leave it there. The principal is $2,400. Okay. The rate is 5.5%, so move the decimal over twice, so it's 0.055. And our term is 8 months. Now we do not put an 8 here because it's an annual amount. So we have to figure out, well, what that is 8 over 12 is what it boils down to. It's 8 over 12. And again, if you kind of remember it that way, you don't have to try to remember, well, what percent of a year is that, or that kind of thing. But we can just do it that way. And if we do it that way, we can just plug this into your calculator if you want. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to give me $88. And so my interest on here is $88. And that's what the question was asking. If you look at advertisements in local papers, you may see stores offering credit to customers. Some stores do not charge interest if you repay the loan within a specific time, such as 3 months. This is sometimes advertised as 90 days, same as cash. Others may charge interest, which will be stated as an annual rate, such as 3.4% per year. Lenders check your credit history and whether you are a good credit risk before deciding to give you a loan. If you have a poor credit history, you may have to pay a higher interest rate. Item 1. Apply mathematics to everyday life. If you want to buy a large screen television for $1,500 on credit, the interest rate is 4.2%, and you will need to pay off the loan in 6 months. First question A, how much interest will you pay for 6 months if you are paying simple interest? So we're doing simple interest here, which of course the formula for that is going to be I equals principal, interest equals principal times rate times time. And so we're going to go ahead and plug in what we know. We have the information on here. If we're solving for the interest, we're solving for I. Then we're going to plug in the principal, which was $1,500. And we're going to multiply that times the rate, which is 4.2%, written as a decimal, 0.042. And of course, the term is 6 months, but it's an annual rate, so we have to have an annual term. So it's, of course, going to be 6 months is going to be a half of a year. All right, so we'll go ahead and find the interest by going ahead and doing the math here. And again, you should have a calculator. If not, your phone will work. And I'm getting $31.50. The interest on here is $31.50. All right. What would be your monthly payment to repay the loan plus interest? Now, to figure out the monthly payment on a simple interest, you find out the total amount of interest you're going to pay along with the original amount and divide it into the number of payments. So what we're paying here is we're going to be paying $1,500 plus $31.50, and that's going to be a total of $1,531.50. And we're going to take that and divide that by 6 months, okay, or 6 payments. And we should get $255.25. And that would be the payment that you would have to make for 6 months in order to end up paying the total $1,531. Item 2, if you changed your payment to 18 months, what is the effect on the interest cost and on your monthly payment? So what do you think is going to happen with your interest? Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Well, obviously, if you're taking longer to pay, you're paying more in interest. So yes, your interest is going to go up. But what's going to happen with the monthly payment? Certainly, if you take an amount that you have to pay and pay it over more months, it's probably going to go down. That's the advantage of taking more time to pay off a loan, is you can lower your monthly payment. Item 3, a borrower takes out a loan of $1,500 at 6% for 1 year. But this loan is compounded quarterly every 3 months. The borrower plans to repay the principal and interest at the end of 1 year. Part of the table has been filled in. Complete the table to figure out the cost of this loan. Now remember, this is compounded. And we talked about some of the compounding before we went on break. This one is compounded. Okay, and what that means is you're paying interest on other interest. So you have a new balance, you're going to pay your interest on that. Okay. All right, and of course this is our quarterly interest. So what's important about that is that we understand that we're taking our 6% and we're dividing it by 4 to get our quarterly interest. So that's going to be 0.06 divided by 4. And so we can take a look and see what that is. Get back to my calculator here. 0.06 divided by 4. So our multiplier is going to be 0.015. 0.015. And that's going to be our interest rate for 1/4 of a year. Okay, for 1 quarter. All right. And so what happens here is we go ahead and we look at what's 1,500 times 0.015. So we're going to multiply that 1,500 times 0.015, and we get our 2250. And then to get the new balance at the end of March is we have to add these two together to get our 2250. So again, we're going to keep multiplying the 0.015, and we'll keep multiplying that to the previous balance. So now what we have is we have 1522.50, which is our new balance carrying over down here. So now at the end of June, we've gone 3 months, we've done our interest, we're going to multiply that times 0.015, and we're going to get 2284. It really came to 22.8375, but I'm going to round it to 2284 because we're dealing with money. And then we're going to add the balance, 1522.50, and that's going to get us 1545.34. And whatever this is here, this box here, it's going to go over here, 1545.34. Then we're going to multiply that times the interest rate. So we're going to take that amount, 1545.34, times the 0.015, and we're going to get 2318, 23.18. I'm going to add these two together, 1545.34, and we're going to get $1,568.52. And then finally, we're going to take that 1568.52, and we're going to multiply that times our 0.015. So it's going to be 1568.52 times 0.015, and that's going to give me 23.53 rounded. And then I'm going to add that to my 1568.52, and I mistyped, so it's 1568.52 plus 23.53, and we should get our 1592.05. Item 4. Compare the cost of a loan with simple interest to the cost of a loan with compound interest. What do you notice about the differences in the two ways of calculating the interest? And I just want you to think about that, put in there something that you think could be the right thing, and we'll go over what the book says. Okay, this is what the book says. The book says simple interest is 90, and the compound interest was 92.05 if you add them all up. For the short time periods, there is only a small difference between the cost and the difference. Now, with that in mind, what do you think is going to happen in the long run? Well, if it starts off to be a small distance, as time goes on, then there'll be a larger difference. Credit cards charge compound interest if you do not pay the full balance each month. Each month's bill includes the balance remaining from the previous bill, interest, and new purchases. In addition, some cards charge a yearly fee. You are required to pay only a minimum amount, about 2% plus any interest and fees each month. However, paying the minimum each month is not a wise credit decision, because the interest costs will add up quickly, adding to the cost of your original purchase. Sample credit card statement. Now, this is what a statement might look like. Of course, it'll have the name of the bank or whoever's providing the credit card, an account number, your name. Statement date is the beginning and ending dates, or the ending date of the statement. The due date is when they want the money by. They want it by that date. Of course, you can pay it beforehand, but what's going to happen is they're going to close out the billing period shortly after the due date. And then the previous balance, the new balance, and then the annual percentage rate, the $5. Now, the $5 is the amount you would need to pay in order to keep the loan current. And that goes to credit reports. If you can maintain being current, then that's a good thing. That shows up as a good mark on your credit report. Keep your credit numbers high. But if you don't pay your minimum, even your minimum payment, then that, of course, is a bad mark, and it has one of the most, the largest effects on your credit rating. Okay? Then you have this one's activity. This is where it's going to show your previous payment. It's going to show any purchases that you've made, and then, of course, it's going to show how much interest you ended up paying. Okay, they'll call that a finance charge on there. Over here we have things called like a available credit. This right here is they'll say you can have a balance of up to $2,000. Your loan can be as high as $2,000. Now the available credit is the difference between the $2,000 and the current balance. So it's $1,752.50. All right. And then of course it has the payments and then the amount. One thing that it looks like that this person did here is one thing about many of the credit cards, not all, is if you pay your balance at the end of every month, they won't charge you any interest at all. So if you charge up $288.40 worth of purchases, and then you pay the $288.40, then they won't charge you an interest rate. Okay, so that's kind of how that'll work here. An important date in this statement is the payment due date. The credit card company must receive payment by this date or a late fee will be charged. If you write a check, you should mail it several days before the due date to avoid a late fee. Late payments are also also affect your credit record and may make financial institutions wary about giving you a loan or a credit card. And again, many people, of course, don't pay by checks anymore. But if you do, you want to make sure you pay it ahead of time so that it gets here before the due date. Most credit cards now offer you an opportunity to pay online. Number 5, what is the minimum payment for this statement? Okay, well, and the minimum payment for this statement is $5. Okay, it said there $5, and that's the amount that, like I said, that they would take without reporting you as a late payer or things like that. Item 6, how does this credit statement show financial responsibility by the credit card holder? Explain your reasoning. And again, this goes back to the fact that we saw a 0 finance charge, which means they paid the balance in full. They paid the balance in full. And I see what the book says on this. Item number 6, I'll get to the right thing here. Else. Yeah, it says answers may vary. No balance is carried from the previous month. There's no finance charge that would indicate a late payment. Okay. All right. So the next thing on here then is, of course, is going to be item 7. It says assuming you have a credit card balance of $954.96. The minimum payment due is $21.20. What balance would be carried over to the next statement? And so, of course, what you're doing here is you're taking your balance and you're subtracting your $21. Okay, so it's your $954.96, and you're going to subtract the $21.20, and that's going to be the balance is carried over because the finance is already charged. Now, afterwards, they're going to charge a finance charge and things like that. But for right now, your balance is carrying over is going to be the amount due minus the payment. If you pay only the minimum on the balance in item 7 each month and do not make additional charges, how long will it take you to pay off the balance? Assuming an 18% annual percentage rate, APR, and a minimum monthly payment of 2% of the balance plus interest. Create a table to show the interest in each monthly payment. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to start off with the table, and it's going to have, first of all, your number of months, because it's a monthly payment. All right, and then you're going to have, of course, your balance. This is your carryover balance. Okay, and then you're going to have the interest rate, or the interest, not the rate, but the actual interest. And then, of course, you'll have your new balance. Okay. All right. Now, of course, you have to figure in what the payment's going to be every single time, but we can put that in outside the table. All right. So after the first month, we already have that done. All right. So the first month, we had a balance of $933 and 0.76. Okay. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out what the interest is on that. Okay. So we figure out the interest. It's 18%, but that's annually. So that's going to be 1.5% monthly. Okay, because 18 divided by 12. Okay, so first of all, we'll find out what the interest is. So it's 933.76, which is going to be the interest, or the balance. We're going to multiply that times the interest rate, 0.015, and we're going to get $14.01. 14.01 is going to be the interest, and then the new balance, or the balance in on this, is going to be 933.76 933.76 plus 14.01, and it's going to be 947.77. Now, what we're requiring here right now is a payment on there. So the payment requirement, I'll put that over here. Okay, the payment starting right here is going to be 2% of the balance plus the interest. So it's going to be this 947.77 times 2%, 0.02, and that's going to be $18.95 plus the interest of 14.01. So the payment requirement is going to be $32.97. 32.97. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make that payment. We're going to subtract that from the new balance. So we have the new balance here minus 32. So it's going to be the 947.77 minus the 32.97, and we're going to get a balance of 914.80. Okay, that's after the second one. All right, and then we're going to take that 914.80. We're going to multiply that times the 0.015 to get the interest. It's going to be our 13.72, and that's going to give me a new balance when I add that together. The 914.80. 914.80. Keep typing the wrong numbers. 914.80 plus 13.72, and that's going to give me a new balance then of 928.52. And then again, to get the balance that I'm applying the interest to, it's going to be the 928.52 times the payment. Well, the payment again is going to be the 2%. So and 0.02 is 2%, which is going to be 18.57 plus the interest plus 13.72, and that's going to be 32.29. 32.29. Okay. All right. And so we're going to subtract it. 928.52 minus the 32.29, and that's going to make it 893.23. All right. And then, of course, we're going to add our interest to that, so it's going to be times 0.015. That's going to be 1339. Okay, 1340 actually. 1340. I'm going to add those together. So 893.23 plus 13.40. 906.63. So you get an idea how that's going to work. I'm not going to do the entire table for you. I'll leave that for you to do as homework. I will tell you that it is a substantial number of months you're going to do. When you get it done, you can kind of let me know what the answer you got is, and I'll tell you whether you got the right answer or not. Okay. So I'll leave you something to do. All right, item number 9. Analyze the situation in item 8 in terms of financial responsibility. What is the most responsible decision you could make in this case? What is the least responsible? Well, I haven't looked at what the book says here, but I would think the most responsible decision would be to pay off as much as you can. Pay whatever payments that you can pay, the largest amounts that you can pay to get it paid for as quickly as possible. The least responsible, of course, is to pay the minimum amount, or even worse, to not pay anything at all. So let's see what the book says for number 9. The answers may vary. Paying more than the minimum is more responsible because the debt will be paid faster. Paying the minimum is the least responsible because you pay much more interest. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at item number 10. So what are the benefits of being financial responsibility? What are the costs of financial irresponsibility? Obviously, the benefits of financial responsibility is one, you manage your money better, you pay things off quicker if you understand the cost of paying less. If your financial irresponsibility is one, if you only pay the minimums, it's going to take you longer to pay, and the longer you take to pay, the more you're going to end up paying. If you don't pay, if you end up getting missed payments and things like that, a low credit score can also cause you to not get loans when you want or need them. Credit cards and personal loans are a form of short-term borrowing. People also borrow for much longer periods of time to buy cars or homes. Like credit cards, the interest rates are stated as annual percentage rate. The annual percentage rate includes both interest and any fees and costs added to the amount of the principal. For example, home mortgage loans have application fees and other costs in addition to the amount of the principal. APRs give borrowers the true cost of borrowing because they include all costs related to the loan. Comparing APRs of different lenders allow borrowers to compare the true cost of the loan and to select one of the lowest costs. Lenders are required to calculate the loan's APR and provide borrowers with that information. Okay, so if you have a loan that has a lower interest rate, but it has a lot of costs for borrowing, application fees and document fees and all kinds of other fees that they might decide to throw at you, it might be cheaper actually to have a slightly higher interest rate. So you can calculate those. There are also free online calculators to enter the amount you want to borrow, the term, and the interest rates. These online calculators will determine the monthly payments you need to make to repay the loan. A number of websites provide online calculators. The online calculator includes tools that let you check the costs of loans at different rates and terms. An example is this link. Your teacher may suggest others, or you may search online for loan calculators. Some sites have specific calculators for loan payment, car payments, and credit card payments. Now, obviously, your book doesn't have a link. You can go on the online version for the link, but it also should have in your book a website there. If not, just Google. Let me look at this link and see what it goes to. Yeah, it says the calculator site. That's what it's called. The website is called thecalculatorsite.com if you're interested in going there. And there's a whole bunch of different calculators that you can look at. And these also could help you with some of your homework if you want. Okay. I like these. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to where we were. Item 11. Select and use tools. Use an online calculator to calculate the monthly payments and total cost of these cases. So you have a $5,500 car loan for 2 years at 4% interest. Well, let's go ahead and see. We'll go to that online calculator we just had. So we're talking about car loan here. So we'll go ahead and hit that link again. We'll look for the car loan calculator here. All right. It says what currency we want to use. We want to leave it in dollars. It said 550, so 5500 or 5,500. The interest rate was 4%. 4%, and the term was, it says the term in month, and it was 2 years, so that's 24 months. We're not paying anything down, no initial payments, no balloon payments. A balloon payment, by the way, is where you have lower payments, but at the end of the loan, you have a large amount that you have to pay. And that's a way of making lower payments. And then at the end of it, you'll have a balloon payment. Many times people will get another loan on the balloon payment, and so on and so forth. We're not going to do that. We'll go ahead and start that loan today. And so it's going to tell us that our total interest that we're going to pay on that is $232.09. That's the total interest. So of course, the total cost of the loan is you would just add those two together. And it says the effective rate is going to be 4.07. That's after all the costs. And it says our monthly payment is $238.84. Okay. We'll own that car April 19th, 2022. So there you go. That's how you use a loan calculator. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Okay, let's go ahead and go back. I went back too far. Of course I did. So we'll go ahead and go back to where we were. All right, and I'm just going to let you do these other two, going back to the loan thing instead of me doing the work for you. You can pay for purchases with cash or different forms of credit. An advantage of cash is the lower cost because you pay no interest. The disadvantage is that you may need a repair, for example, or you don't have enough cash to pay for it if you have something that pops up. Credit allows you to kind of keep your money in the bank and pay for things over time. The disadvantage of the interest costs, if the balance is not paid off each month, paying more than you can afford, late payments or non-payments will also affect your ability to get credit. So it's very important that if you're going to get loans, make sure that it's a payment that's less than you can absolutely pay. So in other words, if you're sitting there going, man, I can afford a car payment for as much as $500 a month, that's telling me that $500 means you're going to be stretching it. That's the most you can pay. Try to get one that has a car payment of 400 or 300, so that you have that cushion, that extra amount available for you to use should something pop up that you weren't planning on. Okay. Item 12. Identify when you would use cash and credit for purchases. Explain each method and why it's an advantage or disadvantage in the situation. Typically, you would use cash for something that is like your everyday purchases, where you don't want to borrow it. Like, for example, when you go to the grocery store, you typically want to use cash. Now when we say cash, it doesn't mean you can't use a debit card. It's where or a check. It's where it comes right out of your bank. You're paying it in full right away, and things like that. Credit might be used for larger purchases, a TV, a car, things like that. And the advantage of that is you're getting an item that's more than you can pay for right up front, and you're able to pay it in smaller chunks, and you're able to retain money. Suppose you had $1,500 in the bank to buy a nice TV. You could pay it with that $1,500, but then now you don't have anything left in the bank for emergency purchases. So you might say, hey, it might be worth it to me. It might be worth the cost of interest to keep my $1,500 in my savings account for emergencies and just pay that TV off in 6 months or a year or whatever. And that way, should an emergency come up, you still have some available cash to deal with those emergencies. You don't want to be paying emergencies off of credit if not possible, like groceries and you need to go out and get something done real fast. That's not necessarily what you would want to do. All right, so check your understanding. Item 13. Both interest rate and the loan length affect the cost of borrowing. Use online calculators as needed for the following calculations. And I'm just going to leave these for your homework as well. These and the practice problems. Remember, though, I have tutoring every day at 3 o'clock virtually on Zoom. And you can certainly pop in there if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help you. Tomorrow I'll be doing lesson 36-2 at 10 o'clock. So feel free to come in and join me today. I think because it was Monday, nobody looked yet and saw it, but hopefully some of you will see this and maybe come in tomorrow. We'll see. Anyway, this is Mr. Kenner signing off. Thank you.